Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown. And via Skype, I have Curtis Newart, Canadian rock and roller, musician, and all around artist. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going, Crystal?
It's going well, sir. It's going well. Thank you so much for reaching out. You had reached out to KUWS before this interview, and then we kind of met through that medium. So thank you so much for reaching out to our radio station and getting us some of your music.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope you're enjoying it.
Definitely, yes. I checked out a couple of your music videos up on YouTube, and yes, quite phenomenal. I loved the kind of backdrop that you had of a couple churches in there, and just the whole landscape of it. And now, I didn't really realize that you were a little poppy before kind of hitting the rock and roll side of things.
Yeah, well, my roots are in pop,
Okay.
and like I grew up on the Eurythmics and Pet Shop Boys, and actually Cyndi Lauper was one of my main musical influences, and she was one artist that inspired Rock the Chandeliers. I sat down with my producer Jacob Wing back in February when we started discussing this project, and I told him about my influences and about how She's So Unusual was one of my favorite albums, and how I wanted to do something similar for myself. And I don't know if you remember the Hits Up That album. There was All Through the Night, Time After Time, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, When You Were Mine, Money Changes Everything, all those wonderful songs. And so I incorporated some of that with some of my modern influences, which are DJ Aaron Chupa, and Little Sis Nora, who of course have some wonderful tracks out lately, just one hit after another. And so yes, my roots were primarily pop, and they continued into this album with a little bit of rock and roll with a song per verse, which is heavy on guitar. And Jacob Wing was wonderful on guitars on this album. In addition to being my producer at Illegal Studio, he played the guitar and sang background vocals, and did all the original programming.
Very cool, very cool. And now, how many albums do you actually have under your belt? I was trying to find that number, and you have a number of singles out, and then you have a couple albums, so I wasn't able to nail down how many you actually have.
Well, this is my second full-length studio album, and I released my first album, Exploits in a Modern World, I released in 2006, which was, of course, 12 years ago. And then I released, after that, a remix EP called Exploits Remixed, featuring the most popular songs off that album. I was telling you earlier that it took me a little while to get my doggies under control in preparation for this spring. And Ginger, my 100-pound Ridgeback, just decided to walk into my studio here to say hello. So, hi, Ginger.
Hi, Ginger.
Yeah, Ginger. Oh, go lay down. And so we released a number of singles, and then I released the song Perverse in 2014, which did really well. It was an original song that myself and Stefan Arngrim put together. I had the lyrics and an idea of where I wanted the song to go, and then he came in with his background in lead guitar and composition, and we put together that song, and it did really well in Canada. At that time, I was still operating on a smaller level, still growing, and a lot of my exposure was through Reverb Nation, which was it's sort of a homegrown. You probably know what it is. It's
yes.
a good place. It's a good place for starting musicians to really get a foothold and get some feedback, and experience what it's like to chart and feel their oats. So it hit number one in Vancouver pop charts, and it was number four in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the top 10 for 30 consecutive weeks, which I'm really proud of because there's 30 million unique visitors to ReverbNation.com every month.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I was very happy about how that performed.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, congratulations. Not very many musicians get to say that.
Yeah, and so
yeah.
of course I had to include that song when this new album came
Mm-hmm.
around. It was not really in the vein of what we were doing, and neither was my cover of "Man on the Moon" by REM.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was sitting down with Jake back in February, and we were trying to decide what direction to go with this album, I sort of wanted to do let's make it a cohesive album, sort of like an album experience where it tells a story from start to end. And I'm glad that he suggested something different. He said, well, let's try putting several different feels on the album, several different moods. So we'll have something like EDM, something like rock, something like top 40, and just sort of see if we can do an album with little something for everyone.
Okay.
So we decided to do that, and it's had really good reception from a lot of people. I got a little bit of pushback on it from a recent review from Music Street Journal, but that's okay. That it's not all the same sort of music from start to finish. To me, it's whatever makes me and my fans happy.
Wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. And now 12 years is quite a long time in between releasing albums. Did life just kind of happen in those 12 years? So music was kind of on the back burner for you?
It did. Making music is something that I've done all my life.
Okay.
I started singing in choir from grade 1 and continued all throughout elementary school and then into junior high, or I believe you call it middle school here in the States.
Okay.
I got involved with band, and I learned to play the organ or keyboards, or the old Von Tempe or Yamaha type organs that have the music boxes where you
yes.
Or polka does that funny thing in the background.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I started learning that, and I played the tuba, and I actually recorded my first album at about age 12, and it was with a cassette recorder, and it was for my grandmother's birthday, and I played all my favorite movie tunes. I didn't have a clue how to play her favorite songs, so I just played my favorite songs. So I played like the theme to Star Wars and the love theme from Superman, Can You Read My Mind, and like The Entertainer and a bunch of silly songs. But to get back to what you were saying, what happened in 2006 was my grandmother passed, and I inherited some money, and I went looking for a condo to buy in Vancouver, and I had about $10,000, and I thought, that should be a good down payment, a deposit on a condo. But then when I started looking around, condos at that time, 12 years ago, it was still about $250,000 for about a 600 or 700 square foot bachelor pad. And so I thought, there's no way I can do this. So what I decided instead to do was to build a home recording studio, which I did. I went to Vancouver's famous Tom Lee Music on Granville Street and got the Pro Tools home set up, and basically myself and a friend of mine produced the album and recorded the album basically on the fly in a period of about 3 months, which was very difficult, and I was pulling my time to time.
Yeah.
And so Pro Tools is a very complicated recording system. It's what's used, as I'm sure you know, in a lot of professional studios.
Right.
So to learn that from the ground up and compose the songs and sing the songs, record them, mix and master them, was a lot of work. But when I put that out, I was expecting that people were going to be very receptive and very supportive and very encouraging and be like, "Oh, Curtis, we're so happy." But I was really not prepared for the sort of response I got from some people. Some people were pretty mean. And so it was really disheartening at first. These were the days of MySpace, when MySpace was big.
I remember MySpace. Oh man.
Yeah, and those were in the days when you didn't have to verify who you were, and so there were all sorts of trolls. I mean, there were whole armies of trolls out there, and so a lot of mean things were being said at first. I took a lot of flack from at first when I released that album. I was just talking with my producer over dinner last night about this, about how I actually started a folder with all the crazy things that happened, like my face being posted on, being cut and pasted on to pictures of animal bodies doing nasty things. Like, really weird stuff was happening. And I actually had to get police involved from overseas when this woman from London sent me a quite detailed death threat. And so... And it wasn't just your ordinary run-of-the-mill, "I don't like you, I'm going to hurt you." It was like a really detailed, like 1 or 2 page long letter. And so I was experiencing all that, which was, it was really hurtful and really surprising to me. But then something really sort of magical happened, was that suddenly the album wound up in a top 40 chart. And then one of the singles, Dead Religion, ironically wound up in an Amazon top 40 religion chart. I don't think they got that I was making fun of religion in that song, but it actually wound up on a religious chart on Amazon. And then from there, I really started to have a number of little successes with the album. And my song Ridicule, that you were watching the video for, became very popular. And I recorded that video partly in Vancouver and partly in New York City.
Okay.
And I performed that song in New York. And then I Would, the other popular song off that album, became quite popular, and I recorded that video in various places around Mexico. And both of those songs wound up in pop culture crossword dictionaries, which I was really pleased about. So to answer your question, what happened after that album was, it was a good experience, but then I had to go back to paying the bills, and I wound up working for the next, however many years, until just several years ago, I moved down to Montana, and my husband Robert, who's been really instrumental with this album, he said, "Why don't you do another album?" Back in February, and I thought, well, I'm not really doing anything, so why not? And then we did this album.
Very cool, sir. That's amazing. Now, do you think that? Well, let me rephrase. With any art, you're going to get some flack. I know with my photography and the art that I've done, I've received a little flack as well. Do you think it's part of being an artist to kind of receive that negativity from people, but also to receive that praise? I mean, it sounds like it kind of shaped your view a little bit.
It did, and well, I have mixed feelings on it. Of course, I think that anyone who has artistic talent and the motivation and drive to want to actually do something beyond a hobby should pursue it. And I really wish that people were more supportive of one another in pursuing their dreams. I do see a lot of both sides of it, as I'm sure you do. I see small groups of people banding together and being supportive, but I also see a lot of people, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but maybe people who don't have the means or the tools to pursue their artistic dreams sometimes think, or vocalize that, you should just do your 9-to-5 job and anything else is silly, and poo-poo that. And if you don't succeed, it's your own fault for not being serious about life and working the 9 to 5 grind. So, but I guess it just depends on how thick your skin is and what your support network is like. And that's something that I spoke about in a recent interview. When I was speaking to kids in college and university about this album, I think it's very important for kids at school to support their peers, regardless if what they're interested in is not necessarily their thing. For example, you guys have, is it the Badgers, the football team there at the University of Wisconsin? I think it's the Badgers. What I would like to say is just that, people who are into band and drama, go out to the football games and cheer for the football team. And likewise, the athletes and their supporters should go out to the drama club when they're putting on their shows and go to the recitals when the band is putting on their shows. And, it all really is beneficial in the long term. And, I think it really helps to develop one's character, to be experienced to all sorts of different extracurricular activities and pursuits, especially in the arts outside of our regular 9 to 5.
Right. Wise words, sir. And actually, as you were talking about that, it reminded me of my high school days. And when I was in high school, I was in band, and then one of the requirements is that you play pep band and you go to all the football games and stuff like that. And through playing pep band, I learned that I actually kind of enjoy hockey. So I enjoy hockey games. So I think, I completely agree with what you were saying that, it's a double-edged sword and you have to, play to both sides. Yes, I definitely agree with that, the arts should support football and things like that, and then vice versa. If you look at the U.S.'s version of, the NFL, and they throw a halftime show together where everybody vacates the field, they bring out a giant stage, and they have these musicians and artists play. So I think that's kind of cool that they've incorporated arts into sports. But also at the same time, there is a lack of art and art-funded things in communities. So I think if, you took just a little bit of that football money, you could throw that into theater. So that's my 2 bits on that one, but thank you very much, Curtis.
Oh, hey, no problem. And speaking of hockey, I saw a picture of, it looks like you guys might have a hockey team there as well.
We do.
Around. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I played ice hockey, which is a prerequisite, being a Canadian. We're huge on hockey. I'm not sure if you know that, but I and every kid I grew up with, we played street hockey in the spring and summer, and then in the late fall and the winter, of course, we played ice hockey, and I was the goalie both on street hockey and on ice hockey for my teams. And I played a lot of sports growing up. I played basketball and baseball, hockey. It's something that I don't really have the patience to sit still and watch on TV. It's something I used to like to participate in. But I agree with what you're saying. And, just support everyone, right?
Right, exactly. And now, Curtis, in the beginning of this interview, you had said that you got into music at an early age and you were in choir all throughout your schooling, and then you kind of taught yourself a wide range of instruments. So was there, I heard the tuba, and then where did you pick up guitar?
Well, I don't actually play guitar anymore. I'm in the process of relearning it. That's why I got my guitars up here. These are my motivation. One's from Canada. His name's Dante. And the other one is India. But when I was younger, yes, I self-taught myself myself on the organ or the keyboards. And then tuba, I took brass band for 2 or 3 years in junior high school and learned how to read and write music. But guitar was something that I learned to play at one point, and then my guitar was actually taken away from me This is sort of not very great story, but I got my guitar for my birthday, and I was learning to play it, and I skipped school one day, and my dad came home and found out that I'd been playing my guitar, and he took it away from me. So, and I sort of never went, I know, but I sort of never really picked it up again after that until just recently I've been trying to play it, and it's something that I find a little difficult, and it's frustrating because I find it hard to tell my left and right hand separately what to do. I find it really difficult to do, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that while remembering the words to my songs and sort of remembering to stand the right spot for my mic and to sort of put on a show. So I think I might just leave that up to my lead guitar and my bass player.
There you go. There you go. No, that actually gives me comfort, honestly, Curtis. I have dabbled in guitar for the last 16 years. And yep, I am in the same boat. I get the chord, and then I get kind of the strum, but then you have to swap this finger and that finger, and then you only play these 4 strings, not all 6 strings. And it's needless to say, I've benched the guitar many times, and then I picked up the bass, and I got bass a little bit better than that, and it's gone back and forth. So hearing you say that gives me great comfort and slight joy that there's someone else out there like me. So thank you very much.
Well, I think people who can play the guitar and the piano, for that matter, are quite brilliant. It's just their brains operate in a different way, I think. To be able to send out those signals to both hands at the same time, just to do the technical aspect of it, but then to add into it the artistic element and make it lilt and flow in the proper way that's soothing to listen to. I think it's quite remarkable. And this reminds me of a story. One of the guys I knew in Vancouver when I lived there, he did some session work with Bryan Adams for his first, what was it? It was for the Summer of '69 album. Okay. And he played the guitar right-handed, and after he suffered a traumatic brain injury, he suddenly was able to play the guitar with his left hand, which is quite unusual for anyone who plays the guitar. They'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it was just brilliant. So now he was able to play it. He was able to play it both ways, which was just something really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's kind of fun to see. I mean, not fun that people have injuries and things like that, but it's fun to see when the brain and the body can overcome different obstacles and still do things. I did an interview with a Brad Nelson several years ago now, and he got into a traumatic accident when he was a young child, and they told his mom he'd probably never be able to read, he might not be able to walk, and then within a matter of weeks he's walking around talking, and he can read just fine now that he's an adult, and he's pretty self-sufficient, which I think is amazing to see that people, they're not adhering to what doctors are saying or anything like that. It's almost kind of like willpower comes into play.
Right. I agree.
a little off topic. I do apologize. That's okay. Tangents are welcome here.
So do you guys have snow there?
We do. Yes. I was honestly, before this interview, I was kind of afraid that we were going to get another snowstorm and I wouldn't be able to make it to the studio. But thankfully, it held itself off, so we're probably going to get a dump on Monday. So we'll We'll see what happens. How is Montana's weather?
It's really tame this year. I'm really surprised. We just really had our first snow that stuck
Hmm.
within, well, last night, maybe before that, maybe a week or so ago.
Okay.
But traditionally, there is snow on the ground from, the beginning or the middle of October onwards, all
Hmm.
through spring. But it's been a really moderate
Hmm.
winter here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know anything about the place where I live. It's called Superior, oddly enough, Superior, Montana.
Okay.
And
All right.
this is actually weird. Today I'm doing an interview from Superior to Superior.
Hmm.
And then tomorrow I'm doing an interview with a station in Oswego. And when I was looking them up on the internet last night to find out a little bit more about them, I
Yeah.
found out there's an Oswego in Montana as well.
Oh my goodness.
So that is but in any case, the town where I live now, it's very different from Vancouver, where I moved from.
Hmm.
Vancouver being about a million or more people in the greater Vancouver area. And then Superior here, it's a small town of about 800 people.
Oh wow.
It was a gold mining town, and then it evolved into a mining town.
Hmm.
And it's just snuggled in the mountains. It's really beautiful, serene, isolated place,
Hmm.
which I really wanted. I really wanted and needed after Vancouver.
Hmm.
And so I actually can go outside and look around my yard, and I'm surrounded entirely by mountains,
Oh.
which are
Hmm.
pretty much snow-capped a lot of the time. And it's very beautiful here, and we can do things like go gold mining and, go for hikes
Hmm.
and do all those wonderful things that people
Hmm.
do in the mountains.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's very different from
Hmm.
Vancouver that way, and I'm enjoying it here.
Hmm.
And I'm
Good.
hoping one of
Good.
my businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, good. Wonderful, wonderful. I was about to ask how the scene in Montana was, but considering you're in a small town, I'll change that question a little bit. But how is the music scene in Vancouver? I mean, obviously it's a large city. You probably have a lot of venues there and a lot more musicians. Was it kind of difficult for you to get into that scene?
Well, it, in Vancouver, it was, of course, yeah, they have a wonderful music scene there. But I've always styled myself more as a recording artist rather than
Hmm.
a live musician.
Okay, okay.
So I've never really gone the route of playing the bars and sort of working my way up
Hmm.
through the circuit like a lot of other very hardworking musicians do. My thing was always I was interested in the home recording, the studio recording, the loops, actually composing the music,
Hmm.
and being more of a recording artist in that sense.
Hmm.
But here in Montana, they have a huge hip hop scene in Missoula, which is about an hour away. It's the largest city closest to me. And so for my next album, I'm looking at involving some of those artists
Hmm.
on the album. And there's a surprising number of musicians, just even in this very small town of Superior where I am.
Hmm.
There are some grassroots bands and a lot of country music, of course. Montana is cowboy country, and so country music does rule here. But there's a lot of cover bands and
Hmm.
bands that throw back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, rock and roll. So it's interesting. I have my own record label here that I started back in Vancouver. It's called Immaculate Records. And I'm thinking that between now and my next album that I'll probably look at bringing a few of these local artists onto the label and being able to share with them the experience that
Hmm.
I went through on this album. Everything from getting their membership with the performing rights organization like BMI or ASCAP or CSCAP, everything like that to how radio promotion works and advertising and publicity, and there's just a whole school of knowledge that I've learned just by trial by fire, if you will.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I'll probably do that. Why not?
Yes, of course. Why not? Put your name on something else then. Excellent.
Why not?
And now you said that you were more of kind of a studio artist. And for those who don't quite understand the difference, a studio artist just does their work in the studio, and very rarely, if ever, do they go perform live on stage. And, lots of studio artists, they do backing vocals or guitars or something like that on somebody else's album. And then another musician will come in and learn those riffs, learn those lyrics for the live show. So it's very rarely is it the same person. That was just a quick little clarification for people who don't quite know. But did you find that being a studio musician, that the internet really helped you kind of launch yourself? I know you had mentioned Reverb Nation really kind of helped you get your foot through the door.
Right, yeah, of course. And there's all sorts of wonderful sites that are absolutely necessary to belong to. Of course, SoundCloud is very important. And there's all sorts of resources for aspiring musicians to get their work heard. And if I were to give some advice to an up-and-coming artist, I would say get yourself a little home recording set up. It doesn't have to be Pro Tools, which can run up in the $700-800 range. But get yourself a little interface that can hook up with your laptop and record some stuff at home. And you can actually go online. You'll have to look it up because it's just escaped my mind the name of these places right now. But you can get mixing and mastering services done online. You can purchase loops online. You can purchase beats online. It does take a little research. But I would also say it's really easy to distribute your stuff now. And I would say to a starting musician, to get your music out there, go to DistroKid, distrokid.com on the internet. They're the distributors I used for this album. And for a small fee, I can't remember how much, they do get your music onto Spotify and Google Play and iTunes and iHeartRadio. They do all that for you. And I know there's places out there who, I won't name, but they are a little unscrupulous, and I've heard of them charging upwards of like $200 to do the same thing that DistroKid does for a fraction of that. And so I even made some mistakes, even with the experience that I have in this business. I wasted some money on promoting this album, and again, I won't say it who they were, but just be really careful. Invest your money. Most of these beginning artists have very small budgets, if any. But there's a lot of free resources. And if you want to come check out my websites, I will have some of that information on there in the upcoming weeks, either at curtisnewart.com or immaculaterecords.com.
All right. Excellent, Curtis. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. You're a plethora of information, so thank you so much for sharing. Curtis Newart via Skype here on 91.3 KUWS right here in Superior. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown. And now, Curtis, you've just released your second full-length album. You're taking a little bit more of a rock and roll stance rather than the kind of pop stance that you did in Vancouver. You moved down here to the U.S. What else is there, sir? You're going to launch a recording studio, hopefully rope in some local acts to come and help you out with that. What's next? What's next for Mr. Newart?
Well, I've enlisted. I've enlisted the help of an agency that's been very helpful. They're called Tinderbox out of Minneapolis, and they've been a great help to me with this album. They've helped me with the radio promotion. I've had my friend Brandon is the radio promoter there, and he's the guy who got on the horn with all these colleges, and after sending out my kit to them, got on there and made sure that they had received the album, and sort of talked them into giving it a few spins, and then I've had my publicist, Krista, and Grant at Tinderbox as well, working my press angle. So I'm starting to get a lot of mentions and reviews online and in print. And the one thing that I'm focusing on now is with John, who's the owner of Tinderbox. He's been reaching out to a number of networks and television shows for sync licensing, which is another revenue stream for musicians. And again, for those who are starting out and who want to be professional musicians, there's not a lot of money to be made in pay for plays. Yes, you do get money every time your record is spin, or you're supposed to, and you obviously get the money from your CD sales and or your downloads, but downloads, there's very little money in that, and especially on streaming sites, there's very, very little money in that. I was looking at my report the other day, and you get fractions of a penny each time that your song is spun. So you have to look at other revenue streams, and one of those that's very important is called sync licensing, and that's when a TV show or a commercial or a movie, they use your music in the background.
Okay.
And or sometimes they, if you're lucky, they'll feature you as like the band playing in the bar in the background while the lead characters have their conversation in the foreground. And so that's a revenue stream that we're pursuing right now. And we've just gotten in the door at a few places, including Discovery and NASCAR and a couple of television shows called Total Divas and Total Bellas. And so once you get past the gatekeepers there, you get your music added to the library. And then what they do is they tag your music with meta tags, just like you would use on your website when people are searching. So then the music director, if they have a scene that's set in a ballroom with chandeliers, they input Chandeliers into their search engine, and Rock the Chandeliers, my single, would come up, and they might use that, and then I, of course, would get paid for how many seconds that it's used, and if they use that, the vocals, and or if they use the instrumental track leading off into underneath dialogue. So that's what I'm concentrating on now, is getting those placements, and then after that, I'm working at putting together a live stage show, and I will be doing some live performances and some touring in the new year.
Very cool. Well, Curtis, I hope to see you in the Duluth Superior area. Well, the other Superior area.
Right. I hope so too.
Yes. Although it might be a little cold in the new year, but, wear some long johns and you'll be fine.
Right.
Curtis, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to talk with us and share your plethora of information. If someone's interested in reaching out to you, maybe to grab one of your songs or see what you're up to, how can they do that?
Well, you can go to, I'm really active on Facebook. Just put my name into the search bar. My personal Facebook page, I've broken my last name up into two words, New Art, because a lot of people were getting confused. They were calling me New Heart or New Art. So I decided, to stylize it for the time being as New Art, my last name. And I've also got my music page on there. And then my My Twitter handle is at Curtis Newart, and I'm also on Instagram at Curtis Newart, and then online, my websites are curtisnewart.com and immaculaterecords.com.
All right. Very cool, Curtis. Once again, thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for, like I said, taking time out of your day to talk with us and do this interview. Good luck with the studio album. Looks like you've got a lot of things going in the frying pan. And good luck with the Montana art scene.
Thanks, Crystal. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Wonderful. Have a great day, sir, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was Curtis Newart. He is a musician out of Montana. You can find him at curtisnewart.com. We'll hear some of his music here in the next couple seconds. This has been another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown here on 91.3 KUWS right here in Superior. I'm your host, Crystal, and I will see you later.
Do what we say, know what you wanna do. Don't ask me why, like who you talking to, what makes Well, the cars are arriving, so there's no turning back. I hear the heels of the girls on the stairs, a quick clap. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Let's put on another track. Rock the chandeliers, crystals dancing in the light. Rock the chandeliers, deep into the night. Well, the DJs are delicious. Please play us another song. Give me a heavy beat and we will dance along. Throw your coat on the furniture. Tonight we can do no wrong. Rock the chandeliers, crystals dancing in the light. Rock the chandeliers, deep into the night. Party in the bathroom, someone's knocking at the door. Unlock the lock and we'll show them a little more. Party in the bathroom, someone's knocking at the door. Unlock the lock and we'll show them a little more. Well, the drinks are flowing and the food is la-di-da. The lights are flashing, rah, 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 rah. Sexy boys, sexy girls, ha, 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 ha. Rock the chandeliers, crystals dancing in the light. Rock the chandeliers, deep into the night. Rock the chandeliers, crystals dancing in the light. Show them a little more. Rock the chandeliers, deep into the night. Show them a little more. Rock the chandeliers, crystals dancing in the light. Show them a little more. Rock the chandeliers, deep into the night. Show them a little more. Party chandeliers, someone's knocking at the door. Unlock the lock and we'll show them a little more. Party in the bathroom, someone's knocking at the door. Unlock the lock and we'll show them a little more.